Hey, everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the Engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live, headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay, every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Art Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.
Hey, I'm K.C.
I'm Tyler.
I'm Eric.
I'm Brian.
And you're listening to
The Element Podcast.
What is happening, everybody? Guess what? We're podcasting. I feel like it was never going to happen. And it is really an exciting podcast day because
It's
Tyler
Friday.
Jones is here.
It's Friday.
It's Friday.
Yeah.
Eric Gentry's here. And introducing the mustache to the podcast world is Brian Bostick Bostic.
Man, what an honor.
I'm glad you're here,
Finally.
man.
He's been listening for 7 years to
He
this
has,
podcast.
man. Yeah.
And look at him now.
It's actually
I have
listen
the
time.
#1 fan badge on Facebook. So
Do you?
That's good.
That's cool.
Probably.
I thought you had it on your fireman hat. Did you stick? Y'all, they let you put stickers on that thing?
I have the Element sticker on my
Good.
on
Ailment, like AILMENT.
He's got that Illinois
Party.
accent.
That's funny. So,
sure.
y'all have actually, if you've watched some of our videos, and you should, actually like 500,000 of you have watched this video. It's a pig hunting video recently that we put out.
By the time we put this out, it'll be like
Make
600,000.
So those of you who are listeners, we appreciate you watching. Most of the views are coming from overseas, and we can't understand what they're saying. But that's cool, too, because
We have a general idea, though.
we have used some Google Translate. But in that, Brian's mustache does spook some pigs, so it makes an appearance. No, Brian was there helping Tyler film one day when I couldn't be there, so you've seen him a little bit. Handsome fella, for sure.
Yes, for sure.
Anyways, he does a lot of pig hunting with us, so we were going to talk a little bit about that. We actually went out yesterday.
Oh, so we're
And-
solving the issue. We're solving an issue today, though, and that is it's the debate of fixed versus mechanical. We are coming to terms.
That's right.
And we are solving an issue.
We're not
today.
even debating it.
Just so you know.
There's no
Problem
debate.
solved.
More on that later.
More on that later. That's right. Fixed versus mechanical broadheads, which we did a little flinging of yesterday.
Yep.
But we probably better start out with how the story started, I would say.
Yep.
Because there's never a good story that just goes smoothly. And this is no different. Tyler could not go with us. You had baseball last night. Tyler's in Little League. Or his kid is or something. And so they had to go to baseball.
Been in Little League all my life.
That's right. So Eric, Brian, and I were planning on heading to go hog hunting. And I had not been with the crew yesterday because I didn't have a babysitter. So I was stay-at-home dad yesterday. And so we were planning all this stuff out together. But nevertheless, we all joined forces about 6 p.m. to go hog hunting. And sure enough, we met obstacles. Literally met an obstacle.
Many obstacles.
Brian called me and said, hey, you want the good news or the bad news? And I said the bad news because I always want to hear the bad part first because I'm always like, hey, nothing's that bad.
Yeah, it's like eating the crust off the Pop-Tart first.
Yeah.
You do that, and then you get to the middle,
That's
and
right.
you leave with the best taste.
Yeah, only weird people break the Pop-Tarts open and eat the middle first, right?
Yeah.
In fact, I will say this, though. I like the crust probably better than the jelly.
I like the crust, but yep, you're weird.
Yep. Especially when they're warmed up. But I haven't eaten a toasted Pop-Tart in a long time.
Toasted Pop-Tart's the way to go, man.
It's a luxury, too.
Oh, yeah, it is. Especially when you are a traveling deer hunter.
That's right. Brian, how did our phone conversation go yesterday?
So I got there before you did, and when I got there, there was a tree across the road.
Oh, no.
About the size of a basketball.
Oh, no. That's a tiny tree.
It is a tiny tree.
Looking at this thing, it's about 75 foot long.
Oh,
and
that
it
a
is
long
still
basketball.
connected
It
at
is
the
a long
roots.
Yeah.
So I called K.C. and asked him if he wanted the good or the bad news, and all I had was bad news. So I'm glad he did mention bad news first. And K.C. arrived shortly after, and it all went downhill from there.
Man,
Y'all did the root scooting boogie?
we hit a lot of hills, so there was some
did.
uphill, too. Isn't it funny how you say it's all downhill, but actually that would be good, right? It's kind of like the up a creek without a paddle. That's not that big of a
We
deal.
were uphill from there.
Yeah.
So we attempted to move this tree, and
What is happening?
By the way, the kids are out of school right now, so we
So
are
much
family
fun.
man. So, we attempted to move the tree.
we had a chain and a come along, and we were about
And some ratchet
50
straps.
Ratchet straps, yep,
In the truck?
in the truck,
Yeah.
and we are still
Prepared.
we were 20 foot short of the tree we wanted to get to. So we got this put around a tree about big around as my arm.
Which is massive, by the way.
Large tree. Large tree.
In comparison to the tree we're trying to move, I didn't think it was going to get it done. And
You like to use a scale of ball size, right? So,
in
like
some
basketball,
aspects.
you said a while ago.
Some aspects is okay.
So what size ball was this tree?
This was a softball size tree.
Softball strut. Okay.
That's a good. Yeah.
And after
Like
about
calf
30
fry?
minutes,
Calf fry size?
bigger.
Bigger. Hog fry. After 30 minutes, we broke
After
him.
30 minutes, we had moved this tree about 6 inches.
Yeah.
And at that point, I realized we were not going to get this done before
30,
dark.
30 minutes to move 6 inches.
Well, there was a lot of
Plus,
problem solving
was
in
a-
there.
Yeah.
There was a lot of. We had some issues going. So from there, we quit that and went to get a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Drove across town, picked up a chainsaw, filled it up with gas and oil. Did not attempt to start it.
Went bankrupt in the process.
We made it back out to the tree, and what do you think? Another 20 minutes trying to get this chainsaw started?
Probably so.
Oh, there's nothing worse, man.
Yeah, man. I never have any success with chainsaws. So, of course, Brian borrowed it from his granddad, so I let him mess with it anyways. And I think it got flooded off the get-go, which they tended to do. And so...
Your granddad's a heirloom tomato farmer?
He is.
That blows my mind,
Yeah,
dude.
he's never
Like
told us that until yesterday.
Yeah, his whole life. His father did commercial farming too. So
He
So
has
it's commercial heirloom maters.
yep.
he has a fleet of those side-sitting international tractors from like the 40s. You know what I'm talking
So
about?
you just pick them as you go?
Which have a different piece of equipment on each one of them.
Yeah.
And what kind of heirlooms? Like, is it a bunch of different kinds?
Purple Cherokee usually
And he sells them.
sells them.
The tomatoes, not
To
the
farmers
plants.
market.
The tomatoes.
Dude.
Yeah. What are we doing? Let's hang this thing up.
That is like my jam, dude.
I was telling Brian yesterday, I was like, we went over there to get that chainsaw, and I was telling him, I was like, man, one of these days, I'm just going to sell out, try to kill 2 deer a year, and do what your granddad's doing. That's the dream, man.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do.
That's it, man.
Just
I
raise some
have
maters.
picked a lot of tomatoes, and tomatoes are disgusting to me. you
No.
I know. I didn't. I had to say it. I had to let everybody know.
Hey, let me just tell you, you're not the only one that listens to this podcast that thinks tomatoes are disgusting.
Yeah.
And all of y'all are losers.
That's right. That's what we're going to start calling.
Something's wrong with a
That's
person.
what
that
we're going to
likes
start
tomatoes,
calling Brian's mustache is the tomato filter.
So, are they disgusting because you have eaten so many, or do you just never like them?
I've never liked them,
Really?
but from time to time, I still attempt to eat.
That's
one,
why you
and
didn't go ketchup on the
they're
potatoes.
Not enjoyable.
I saw
I
50.
like ketchup.
You
saw
did?
50 to 75 peach trees while we were there too. So I'm
Are
assuming
they heirloom peach trees?
There are many different varieties of peaches. Some
What's your favorite?
early season, late season. Honestly, I like them all.
Yeah.
I don't know
It's
if
hard to
they
beat
can
a peach,
taste much difference in a peach.
There's some more bitter type peaches to sweeter
Yeah.
Sweeter's mine
but,
for sure.
and size. The size aspect.
They sell those to that place up in Pittsburgh. Does all them peaches?
He does the Dallas market, and then some small community markets around the Metroplex. But the sad part is the last probably 2 or 3 years has been unable to produce any peaches
Because of weird frost and stuff?
Yep, weird frost. But this year I think it's going good.
That's why I don't want a peach tree. I love eating peaches so much, but they're so finicky. It's just like, it's weird. They're weird, and everything eats them.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter from the tiniest bug to the, biggest cervid. They're going to eat a peach.
But guys, the tree across the
BC.
road was not a peach tree. Okay?
No.
No,
It was-
the 75-foot basketball
James the
tree.
Giant peach tree. That's right. So Brian decided to flex his muscles on the chainsaw.
Since they're bigger than
which
the
went
tree.
Good.
so-
Yeah. I see why he. I was telling his fireman buddy was on the phone. And I was like, man, I see why Brian does those calendar shoots. Because
That does not happen.
those
guys.
muscles can bulge, man.
Do not look.
He was.
for-
I think it
for
was more like
calendar
he was getting real mad at it, which I know the
I
feeling.
was furious. I could have choked that tree. And by the time we were done, I didn't even know if I could pull my bow back. That's how much yanking of the chainsaw
Yeah,
I
you
did.
cranked that thing, about 100 times?
Probably.
Yeah, and then
Dude, I'm telling you right now,
What?
nothing makes you more mad than pulling on a pull start something and it not working. I'm
know what
telling
the
you,
worst
I'm
is?
with you on that. Like, that is the most mad that I've ever
a
been.
pull
probably.
start boat motor because you're stuck in the middle of the
You're out
lake.
in the lake.
And I've done that a lot, man. You ever had one of those boat motors that you had to wrap the
Yep.
rope around every time?
Yep.
Oh, my gosh. Drive me insane. But, yeah. And then, for some reason, I actually had the magic touch on the chainsaw. Like, Brian
warmed it
set
up.
it down.
I warmed it up
He
for you.
did. I think you burned all the... Well, this is what happens whenever you flood equipment like that on two-stroke motors. If you sit them down for a while, they'll kind of, I guess, evaporate out, or the carburetor kind of leaks some out or something. But then they can start working. And then we finally get the chainsaw to going, but it's cold-natured and doesn't want to bear a load at all, so we have to really slowly ease into it. And then I start to saw. And if you've never chainsawed trees, you probably don't know much about this, and I still don't know much about it apparently because I did it wrong. But there's a way a tree lays on the ground where, like, the tree is bearing load. And if you saw from the wrong side, you will pinch your saw in there to where you can't get it out. Well, the way this tree was laying, it looked like for sure that the pinch would be at the top, so you'd want to saw from the bottom. Well, we had not released the tension off of the come-along before we started sawing. So I ended up pinching the tree, or the saw in the tree.
Stuck City.
Couldn't get it out. It would not budge. And then we're like, well, this is the highest level of toolage that we can have right now to do something about this.
What time was this? Like 7:20 something?
No, we
Or
weren't quite that late, but we were pushing
And
late.
What time were the pigs coming out?
Pigs are
usually?
coming out, like, the earliest was 7, but about 7:40 I knew
Yeah.
was, like, the time that
Yeah.
they had been coming out. So this all is in a time crunch, right? It's probably like 6:55 and all this is happening. So then we decided to go let the tension off of the come-along. Finally got the saw out. It cranked up again, and then to kind of shorten that up a little bit, we did, in fact, get the tree cut out. And it was funny because Brian had parked his truck where the ball hitch was pointed at the tree so we could chain to it and pull it out. And then I was parked behind him, facing the right direction on the road, and we just made Brian back it all the way back in there. It was cool. So we end up at our hunting location about an hour after we had intended, maybe even longer, and we're kind of deliberating on what we should do because we were going to split up and go to two different places. The wind was kind of weird for one of the really good spots, so we're going to split up. But Brian was going to go explore this other new spot, and then we were like, maybe we should hunt together. And then we talked about it, ended up splitting up. And Brian, How was your location?
It was non-productive.
Was it non-productive at all?
I feel like I was put in the gar hole.
You can't gar hole yourself, Brian. This is we get to go there because of you.
I don't know if it's the mustache or what, but I got put in the gar hole. Walking in, there was possibly pigs, maybe deer under the feeder, and I just caught a glimpse of something running off. I got up, got set up. And
it was deer.
See, there was a lot of deer around. I did see quite a few deer, and made friends with a raccoon, and that was about as productive as that trip
You said the
went.
coon was like 3 feet away?
It was. We were very close. Probably 5 foot
Still
away.
are to this day, right? Pretty close.
I was expecting for this coon to see me and run away, and he didn't. He was curious, and we talked about hunting for a little while.
Had he recovered from his injury that was previously
Missing a patch of hair.
Yeah, he's traumatized, and I think that's what he wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I understand. I appreciate you comforting him.
But I got some good video of us hanging out.
That's good. We actually might put that on a reel because I bet it'd be pretty funny.
That's all that happened.
So follow us on social if you haven't, by the way. Eric and I went to our original spot. And the wind is kind of a tricky wind, especially for this time of year, because it's pretty much about late May on. Normally around here, it is south or southeast almost exclusively. That's just what we get all summer long. Well, we've had it like probably some record cool temperatures for this last month of May, as a lot of y'all in the south probably have. And we
Also had some record highs.
We did before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Yeah. We've had wests and norths like the past week, which is kind of wild. But it also means that the animals are up moving and stirring, which is good. But it just kind of throws a wrench in the system of like what you would normally think of for setups this time of year. So Eric and I went and parked our truck and went on a pretty good little hike to make sure that the wind didn't blow at our at where we thought the pigs were going to come from. We had been baiting this spot, making sure that they were coming in. We were following cell cams, making sure that they, we had a pattern because, man, being busy family men and just having a lot of other stuff on our plate, and the fact that gas is super expensive, like, man, even like a 15 or 20-minute drive can, rack up some stuff and end up, if you don't feel good about your opportunities, it's almost not worth going down just like for maybe a whim at maybe getting to shoot something, right? Deer hunting's different, right? Because you just don't get the opportunities very often on deer, and that's just kind of the name of the game. But with pigs, and this is people who listen know this isn't a bragging thing, but I've killed thousands of pigs because it was my job for a while. So like, I don't care to go and just kind of maybe see a pig, I kind of want a sure thing. Mm-hmm. So, and what that ends up turning into is like maybe a little extra care to make sure we don't mess them up, because the worst thing to do is to go sit on a place that you have a good pattern on an animal and then it not work out or you don't see them.
Especially after the tree thing.
Yeah, especially after how much we worked into it. But like, you mess something up if you've got a pretty good pattern on an animal and then you don't see them. You know that they did something because you most likely. But we stayed off. We were going to spot and stalk these pigs. Okay, so instead of going in and setting up on them like in ambush style, because of the way the wind was, this spot where the pigs usually come out at, it's pretty bad about dragging thermals down late in the evening and getting the pigs where they can smell you, even if the wind direction is in a favorable way. So Eric and I set up about 90 yards from the bait there, where we imagined the pigs would come out. And
where are you using for bait, like minnows or?
Yeah, worms, red worms.
Oh,
yeah,
that's good. Those tend to work for turkeys
that's
better.
Right. So we use good old-fashioned dried deer corn. None of that fancy stuff, and you don't need it. If pigs find corn, they'll eat it. We set up kind of almost over the hill where we could kind of look down at them, hoping that our thermals would draw the other way. And it worked out pretty good. We had a pretty good strong wind there, actually. And Dude, it wasn't like 10 minutes, probably.
I don't even think it was that long.
It was not long at all.
I think not even 5 minutes, I feel like.
Yeah.
Maybe right at 5 minutes.
Maybe
but yeah.
something like that. But by the time, like, I had not had enough time to, like, need to readjust the way I was sitting. Mm-hmm. We'd been sitting there that short amount of time. And I look up and say, oh, there they come. And they came out of that same exact spot where they had for you in the past, where, like, they're kind of almost northeast of where the spot is, you know, like, and they, like in that hog video, you seen how many times they came in and out from that spot. Like, they love it down in there. It is a cedar pig festival.
Just getting that sand under them cedars and bed down. It's cool. It's shady.
Protected too.
Yeah.
It is a briar fest.
Yeah.
In there. Bad. We'll get to that in a second. So
Headshots, bro. Headshots.
That's what we need. Oh man. At that point in time, I was like, okay, let's let them get to the bait, and we're going to go in and put a stalk on. And previously, we had set this spot up, and Tyler worked a lot on this. I helped him a little bit, but we actually like kind of did the whole rake for the leaves thing back to where we had like a really quiet approach, and have like this little just sniper's nest almost built up in there where you can just approach right behind these bushes, and then once you walk up close enough, you have a shot just over the bushes. It is nice, okay? But we had like probably 60 yards to cover before we got to that like cleared out path. And so Eric and I start sneaking along, and we get, I don't know, almost to the path, I think. And then a pig hears us, or I think may have, I don't know what happened. But you know what they do? They like, they just like take off all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. And then nobody knows what happened. And then they like kind of calm themselves down, and then the greed gets them. Right? Pigs cannot handle it. In fact, one of them saw us, caught us out in the open, because it's open between there if they aren't at that spot, right? And one of them saw us just standing out in the open. But the other 3 hogs, or 4, I can't remember how many little ones there were, had already made it to the corn, and it could not help it. It was like, oh, I got it. You know, it kind of just like erased that in its mind. I thought about drawing on that pig right then and shooting, because I was like, oh, it's over. But then I saw the other ones going to the bait, and I was like, no, this is going to work out just fine. And a little thing we noticed there is that the grass is real crunchy. Just because that's like arid country over there, it's real sandy and dry. Even if it was just right after rain, it's still real crunchy over there. And you could sometimes take long steps, but you could step from like gopher pile to gopher pile, and it was dead quiet. It was pretty cool.
That is cool.
I was pretty much following your footsteps the whole time, just to try to stay on the sand.
I thought about that too at one point in time, because I'm not like super long legged, but I think my legs are a little longer than yours, and I was like, I hope Eric can kind of make these steps.
I probably wouldn't have been able to.
Well, we'd have picked you up.
Yeah, there you go.
But
Ever heard of cartwheel?
that's right. I don't know if you know the significance of the handstand, but that's it.
What significance is there to eating chips and salsa, K.C.?
Very significant, Tyler. It is the most significant things that we can think of, I think. Anyways, we make it to that path, and once we get to there, I'm like, oh, we are golden. This is it. And sure enough, we stalk up in this little sniper's nest. There's like a 10-foot diameter circle in there for a couple guys to stand, and I tell Eric to kind of go up the hill for me a little bit. That way he's got real good footage, and then I can kind of draw behind the bushes. But we sit here and just kind of watch these pigs for a second because they have no clue we're around at that moment. And like, it's just neat being close to animals.
I don't think I've been that close to them like that, and just seeing them interact with each other. That's pretty cool.
I ranged the feeder. It was 18 yards.
Yeah.
So it's pretty close.
It's fun.
Yeah. It's real fun.
Yeah.
And
How many pigs were in that group?
I think there was 5. I think there was 3 little ones and 2 big ones, but I'm not sure. I kind of, once I locked in on a target, I kind of didn't pay attention to the little ones too much anymore. In retrospect, I might have should have just shot one of the 40-pounders, because that had been an eater for sure.
Did you shoot the biggest, or did you pick out the biggest?
Well, it's funny that you asked that, so let's just talk about it for a little bit. We'll get into that. How's that sound?
Let's
So there was 2 larger pigs while we're sitting here watching them, and we were watching them, and one was definitely more dominant than the other. Mm-hmm. One even like straight up went over to this other one and grabbed it by its nape with its mouth and like and like
nape.
Yeah,
that's a good word.
Is that the right
dude.
word?
I think so.
Yeah. And
just
like
nipped its nape, huh?
Dude, yeah, it like did the T-Rex on it. You know how like you see a T-Rex and a Triceratops, they grab them on the top of the neck. It's
yeah,
like,
I have seen that actually.
Yeah.
Yep, it's pretty.
Yeah, in the wild.
Yeah, I've seen it in the wild.
That's what it did. It was weird, man. It like just got mad at that pig was close to it and went over and did that, and then went back to eating. But
was it like a ginger nape neck? Yep.
Got something against gingers?
Ginger snap? Is that what you're trying to say?
Or was it like an aggressive?
No, it was not very gingerly. It was mean.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm giving you an attitude adjustment.
I didn't know if it was like, hey, could you move over?
No, it was I'm a mad pig. And when it did that, I kind of like was looking at that pig, and I hadn't anatomically checked that hog. But it kind of had that kind of lean, rangy look to it. I was like, that might be a boar, so I don't really want to shoot that
I feel
one.
like I saw tusk on him when he did that.
Did you?
I feel like I did, but I don't,
Those sows can have a little bit of something, but it's usually not enough to ever be able to see, so that you might be right. And that was kind of one of the reasons I was like, I want to shoot the one on the left. And she was fatter, too. She was probably in better shape.
Because you intended to eat it?
Yeah. That was the point. I was like very much ready to get some meat off of this piggy.
We need some meat off of the piggy.
The plan was for us to maybe eat it today. That's what was running through my mind. I was like, oh, man, it'd be good to have backstraps at lunch, you know? Dude, because, man, pork backstrap cutlets, just lightly floured, is one of the best things. It is better than a chicken nugget.
I believe it.
And 100% better for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good.
Like chickens?
Dadgummit. Nuggets. So I had decided before this evening, you and I had talked about this. We actually are going to put out a broadhead video here pretty soon where we talk about all different types of broadheads. And I've never drawn blood with a single bevel broadhead. And I decided before I say too much about them, I should try it out. And because there's a lot of people that really hype a single bevel broadhead. If you don't know what that is, imagine kind of like your razor blade at home where it's sharpened on one side and just flat on the other, but in a bigger version, like a thick piece of metal. That's what a single bevel is. Yeah. It's like think of like an Indian arrowhead, right? It's flat, so it's just kind of has two blade sides. And those are just sharpened on one side. The idea is that it can split bone and twist as it goes through an animal and yada, yada.
So no novice has ever used one of those. It's only been if you think of the best hunter that you know, he probably isn't even good enough to have used a single bevel, right?
Only his mentor.
Only his mentor.
Yeah, only his mentor.
So probably that's probably the only person worthy of using a
Are you
single
talking
bevel.
about Joe Rogan and Cam Haines?
Yeah.
Well,
actually, their mom.
That's right. Their mom taught them how to use single bevels.
Yeah. For sure. So it definitely is. There's like a little bit of an elitist feel with the single bevel crowd sometimes, and it's got some science behind it that kind of makes sense. But here's the thing, guys. Like me, Tyler, and I guess Eric and Brian can kind of speak for themselves on this. But like we always try to talk from experience and not expertise because we're not experts at anything, right? It's just do our best to do a bunch of stuff and have like takes on it, right? So it's like I need to shoot something with this thing. Pigs are a great opportunity. Gonna have a close shot, So yeah, did that. I shot it with a single bevel. Let's go back to like play by play. Okay. I tell Eric I'm gonna shoot the pig on the left, and so she starts to kind of quarter towards. I have like a little shooting hole right here where the bushes kind of dip down. And she starts to quarter towards it, so I draw my bow. Pig walks forward, eating corn. And I have to wait on a smaller pig to move out of the way, or I would have shot her sooner. But, like, the top of the smaller pig's rump is kind of covering where I want to shoot. And in retrospect, I probably shot a little higher than what I would normally aim because that pig was still fairly close to this other pig. And there's a thing that happens in pig shootings. They're kind of usually in little tight quarters. Okay, so I go to draw back on this pig and aim, waiting on this little pig to kind of clear. Pig comes in and is slightly quartered to, and I beat up. I think before I drew, I asked you if you were ready, which you are always ready. But in that situation, there's no way to lie. I mean, there's no reason to not just make sure. Right?
You're like, are you ready?
That's right. Well, with deer hunting, like, it's easy for everybody to get on the same page because it's like, okay, that's the deer we're shooting, and when there's a hole there, I'm going to shoot him. Like, and everybody already knows that.
Shooting the biggest one.
But in pigs, like you, there's different hogs out there. You don't really know. Like,
Quit worrying about the camera.
Yeah. Stop talking.
Quit talking and worry about the camera.
Says the guy watching a YouTube video. Do what? So, anyways, we want to make sure that we get it on film because that's part of what we're there to do, right? Draw back, draw a bead on this pig, and release the arrow, and it is a smoke. It is not a 12 ring. It's probably an 8 ring. I hit it a little forward of where I wanted to. One of the things that we've noticed lately is that on black hogs, it's actually very hard to pick a spot to shoot, like extremely hard. And you almost don't notice it until after the shot, right? Because about 2 weeks ago, I shot a big boar and ended up hitting that pig right of where I wanted to hit, a couple inches. And I thought that he was more hard-quartered than what he was. And that's why I kind of aimed right. Same thing goes with this pig. You had the same thing happen on a pig a couple nights after that where we both thought you smoked him. And you did, but it ended up being like a liver shot and not a double lunger or whatever.
Is it because black is the absence of all light, or it's the multiple of all lights or whatever?
That's white would be the all the lights. So
See,
black is the absence of light.
I think it's the opposite.
No, it's not.
According to who?
God. But black absorbs light, and white is
So black's the absence of all light.
Depending on what you define absence as.
The fact that the opposite of that would be all the lights combined.
Well,
all the colors.
Here's the thing: is black absorbs all colors of light. Does that mean black has all the light, or white gives off all the colors of light? So does white have all the light?
This is deep.
This is over my head.
Black is the projection of all the colors.
Incorrect.
Yeah.
No.
I think it is.
Okay.
It absorbs it, and therefore you see all the colors. Yeah.
That's not how light works.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, anyways, black things
So you
are
think
hard.
black, and as far as light and color goes, are they different?
It's a good question.
It is a good question.
My answer would
say
be
so
no.
myself.
Everything you perceive is light, or the absence thereof.
So then black is what?
The absence of color, the absence of light.
The absence of color and light. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Which makes
We've had this conversation before on this podcast. I don't know
it
if you
actually is
remember.
kind of important to talk about a little bit.
I think it is,
because
too.
in a real situation, I would assume bears are very much like this.
Yeah, I was thinking that earlier.
Yeah, like it's hard for your eye to not perceive it as a black blob. Like you got to have pretty good light, and they almost like I don't know how to. You ever see that? Like in kids' toys, like squishies or something. There's like glitter water that kind of like looks kind of boily or whatever.
Yeah,
it's almost like they do that. Like their hide moves around with the hair that's black, and you can't really find like the muscles or the elbows or whatever that you're using to make accurate aims with, or whatever. And no one wants to talk about this too much, but like once you start looking through two holes and then looking at the pig, it gets real tough.
Yeah.
So
that's why only real men shoot trad bows.
That's right. And that's one of the nice things about shooting. I shoot like a stacked double pin, so I have a real open view through my bow sight. But still, it's tough, especially as the daylight wanes on. Actually, we were going to watch a live.
Yeah.
Like Tyler,
hopefully it's not too loud. But
and Brian hasn't seen this yet.
I haven't
either.
seen it.
Either about right
I was.
here. Let me see what
at
it's
this
set on.
point talking to Raccoon.
That long-haired
so
man.
we see this man coming up here to the
Yeah, look at that guy.
feedor.
Look at that guy right there, man. Who's that guy? Okay, there's about to be piggies.
Man.
Yeah.
Oh, there they are.
There's pigs.
How long till you shoot? I don't want people to have to wait too long here on us to
A little
absorb this.
bit. The left hog is going to,
Oh, now
no.
it
About
Yeah.
right here.
she's about to, when she clears that,
Oh, why's it
right
being so slow?
Creamy.
Graham,
look at those little ones are tastier. I should have
you know
shot
what?
one of those.
Let's
What?
do this. If we pull it up here, we can slow it down.
All
If we
right,
pull it up
dude.
in the old quick time, which won't do.
There's that guy with a single bevel.
That's
Some of
him,
y'all
man.
are probably wondering if you're the type who like geeks out about this stuff. This is a samurai, which is a single bevel type. It's got a pink ferrule and a silver blade. Also have a cutthroat in my quiver that might stay there. I don't know. They make pretty good broadheads, but I think that's after the shot there. Yeah. Oh, black screen, living in a movie. Okay.
Yep, about right
About
here.
to happen right here.
All right, so we got a pig standing under the feeder, just hogging down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that. Oh,
What are you oohing? What's happening?
Oh, he's seen it before
Oh.
us.
We're paused on the screen.
how about that?
Oh no, what's going on? Okay,
Yeah, so it's
paused on the screen again.
it's pretty much just what you use a single bevel for, right?
Yeah.
Why is it being pausey on the screen? All right, now we got some things working on the screen here.
That bug is not the arrow.
There it is.
Paused on the screen again.
Oh, it didn't show it? Well, I'm seeing it. Brian's
Tyler's
not.
seen it.
Okay.
But yeah, this shot is basically in the shoulder blade.
Yeah.
Why is it doing this? That's crazy.
I don't know.
Anyway, I don't want people to get too bored, but you
Yeah.
can see it right here if it'll decide to work. There it is. right
That's exactly the point of
See it,
impact
yeah.
right there.
there. Yeah. So
That is,
Dead pig.
yeah,
Look how far it sticks out of them, too. There.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
it's
buried up to the fletchings. I'm shooting 540 grains right here.
I mean, that's what you shoot a single bevel for.
That's exactly right.
Crowd the shoulder, right?
It is still what you would call the triangle. So, like, all up in the vitals, not so far forward that it's in front of shoulders. And just like what you said, it's what you shoot a single bevel for.
I mean, if you're shooting a single bevel,
Ooh,
there she is flying through the
that's
air. Oh, wow, right there. Whack.
we've been hitting some pigs in that area.
Yes,
We hadn't found any of them.
that's right. It's a tough place to shoot a pig. One problem with this shot is that it is mid-body. And from mid-body up, it's very hard to get good blood because that animal has to fill up to that point for it to bleed. And beyond that, like it's not on a downhill. The hole isn't on a downhill slope, right? But still, that's a smoke on a hog right there, dude. Like that hog is not feeling. I think that is a boar on the right. Sure enough, I have conclusive evidence right there. Maybe not. But look at that blood on that limb right there. How about that? Didn't
So,
even see that.
but bled really, like bled a lot, right?
I mean, out both sides, no question, we're about to find the pig. And for you who are listening, something I've learned recently is how much blood is actually good blood. If you're finding quarter-sized things of blood that's good and red, that's not good blood. Good blood is puddles that are looks like someone spilled a half a cup of milk. Like that's what actual good blood is. And that's what we're seeing from this pig every 3 to 5 feet. Like just
Like you said, both sides, too.
Yeah.
It's looking like that.
exactly. And so what this hog does is takes off, tearing off through the brush, breaks the arrow because she's shish kebabbed, and bleeds really, really good. And
You know what's weird?
What?
I think this pig is quartered away from you.
yeah, I know she kind of turned right there at that last moment and kind of turned her head forward.
So you think about the exit, it's kind of in front of that shoulder right there on the
It's
opposite
not
side.
as much as what it looks like here because right here,
Taking a step.
she took a step back to go forward. So she's almost squared up.
It's a good follow, Eric.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's just wild because he calls me and tells me that red carpet, but we think, obviously with camera light, you're like, and also just being warmer this time of year, you're thinking, let's this pig smoked, let's go find it, right? And so you kind of get up in there, and basically I get the call that the pig has been jumped, it seems like. We're assuming that we have jumped this pig, and it went through some like mud and sand and stuff, and now we don't see hardly any blood.
I belly crawled up underneath this like real thick cedar thing that had great blood leading up into it. She went up in there. It's definitely a hog bed that they use every day. And you know how dusty and dry it is underneath those cedars? She got in there and rolled around and came out the way she went in, and I finally found like what almost was scabs where the dirt and blood kind of combined to make like a really dry mud. And that's like pretty much what her blood trail turned into after that. She went in there, and of course they're not smart enough to figure this out, but like pretty much coagulated the blood in the dirt and then left. So we didn't have good blood trail from there on. And then we trailed her for another, what seemed like forever in the dark, right? And Brian came over and helped us, thankfully. We still didn't end up finding the pig. We probably trailed her about another 90 yards past that. The whole time I'm kind of keeping up with it on X, like using the tracking tool and pins where we'd find like good blood to kind of tell the story, you know what I mean, for our own purposes to try to understand what happened. Yeah, we were just literally at one point in time following broken sticks or weeds and stuff, and then kind of fanned out and looked for her and just couldn't find her.
And y'all got in bed at what time last night?
I was in bed at like 12:45, something like that.
So y'all spent some time looking for this pig.
We did spend a lot of time looking
It's
for this.
crazy
So it's
for you
not-
to say that pig, after finding that bed, went 90 yards. Because when you're on your hands and knees following specs,
It seems like forever.
it does.
It seems so far. But I tracked it out
does.
on Onyx and did like some straight line distances and stuff. But yeah, it seems like, 90 yards, just like what you're saying, doesn't really describe how hard we worked to go that distance, right?
I just kind of want to make a note here that like we've had some issues getting hogs killed this summer and spring, and
Getting hogs found. We've killed a bunch of them.
And so,
yeah.
But it's not for lack of trying.
Yeah.
A lot of dudes out here, I know a lot of guys that are shooting pigs, and they ain't even going looking for them. You know what I mean? And they don't have to. That's not against the law by any means. But
It's actually probably a good thing if for those of you who don't exist where pigs are, it might be hard to understand, but they are a nuisance animal for a lot of people. So
non-natives too.
Yeah, they're non-natives. Turkey populations are down across the country. That's what we've been hearing all spring. Guess what is one of the nest predators of a turkey?
pigs.
Wild pig.
Yeah, and so anyway, we've taken it upon ourselves to eat them because they're tasty, right? As Jesse Griffiths would probably say, and then also to find them because that's part of eating them, right? And so we've tried to do that, and so it's not for lack of trying that we haven't made making this happen. So here's the deal, though: is the YouTube world doesn't care to understand these things about us. The podcast world is a little different, so we're trusting you guys with this information, but we're probably not going to release these just because, you can kill a pig and everybody on YouTube have a problem with it, right?
Yeah.
We've seen that happen. And so who knows what would happen if you release something like that? I don't know. If you have thoughts, send us a message through Instagram or something like that. We'd like to hear how you think about it. But this is kind of what we're trying to make something happen and trying to bring some pork shoulder on deer trips this year and stuff, you know. So
that went pretty good last year.
Yeah.
Eric and I were talking about that. That was my whole intention, is to grind up a bunch of hog meat and have some smoked quarters so we can have barbecue and tacos and all kinds of stuff on these trips.
So anyway, it's been a little frustrating for us, and it's made us kind of reassess this whole debate that everybody else has figured out, which is fixed versus mechanical.
How about that?
How do you feel about all this, K.C.?
Let's go around the room and do this. Tyler, have you shot animals with both?
Yes.
Have you shot animals with both this year?
No.
Okay. I have shot animals with both, this meaning like the
I
last
shot a
365.
hybrid, if you want to count that,
Yeah,
but not really.
I still call that a mechanical.
Still mechanical.
I've shot animals with both in the past year. Eric?
I'm still newer to hunting, so I've only shot fixed, and I've shot one animal with the fixed and did not have a good blood trail. But that could be me, though.
Did you shoot
Shot
that
doe, though, right?
Oh, yeah. I shot doe and I've gotten
with
that.
a fixed? You shot her with a fixed?
Yep.
Brian, have you shot both?
I have. I shoot both often. So.
Yep, good. Okay, so we all have some take on this. Eric, like he said, he's a little newer to hunting, but has mixed results on the fix. So that'll give us a kind of a baseline to go off of. I've shot a lot of different of both because I like tinkering with this stuff. Tyler, you're a little bit more on find what works and shoot it, right? That's kind of the way you do stuff. I like to kind of mix it up because it's just kind of fun for me. But let me list it out here. This past year, I have shot things with a hybrid. I've shot things with a Grim Reaper Whitetail Special. I've shot things with a Sever. I have shot things with a Iron Will. I've shot things with a prototype from Vector. I've shot things with a single bevel Samurai, and I've shot a hog with a 3-blade cutthroat. Those are within the past 365. I think that's all.
Shoot anything with the Annihilator? Besides grass?
I did a follow-up shot on a hog with an Annihilator. So, yes. Which is a 3-blade pretty much. Brian, you shoot. What do you shoot, broadhead-wise?
My primaries this last year were the two that I kept in my quiver were the Magnus Black Hornets and Swacker.
Magnus Black Hornets and Black Hornet is that little short guy, right?
The short one.
Gotcha. And Schwacker is a 2-blade front deploy that's real wide.
Yep.
Oh, this is
2
debatable.
inch. I would say mid deploy.
Mid deploy. It's a mid deploy, eh?
It has its two prongs are a little further down in the.
But do they come out the front or the back?
They come out the front.
So yeah, front deploy.
I see where this is going.
I mean,
They do not deploy till they are midway.
Yeah,
kind of like
I
a
see what
Sever
you're saying.
one.
A Sever's a rear deploy.
No, I mean, he's explaining it like that one, I assume. How it's, in the middle. The deployment's in the middle.
Yeah. What fixed have you shot, Tyler?
stop.
What? And
What
a paper
fixed?
cut?
Yeah, there's a broadhead called a paper cut. No, anything that's 2-blade broadhead is called a paper cut.
Yeah.
No, I shot the only fix that I think I have shot is a day 6 super sharp broadhead. I've cut more of my fingers than I have animals.
Yeah.
No, I killed. Let's see, I killed 5 deer with it in 2020.
Yeah.
And
Let's go this direction with this. Beyond the expiring of animals, how were your blood trails this past season with mechanicals?
I didn't have to blood trail many deer.
How about that? But if you needed to, it was there.
It ain't a didn't go 20 situation, but it is watch them fall a lot of times. I see
Helps
the
when they run
Nebraska,
at you. I'm okay with it.
The Nebraska buck ran away and actually grew wings and flew off a cliff, and then we found it. So there was some blood trailing involved with that deer. South Dakota fell in sight, Kansas fell in sight, Colorado fell in sight.
How was? Y'all saw the South Dakota buck go down?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I felt like we trailed him some. Maybe we were just looking for the arrow.
Oh, it was just so thick. We were looking for the arrow. Yeah.
How was your blood trails with your fixed experience?
Not great.
It's 2-blade with bleeders.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people do the bleeders thing as kind of like just like hey, we should let people know that we can make them bleed with these little tiny blades, right?
Yeah.
But really what it is it's still pretty much just like shooting an Indian point. And it makes a slit. At least in my experience, I was making slits in these animals that were so thin that they were almost even closing up so that they didn't bleed much. So I can think of the 2019 public land Texas buck I shot with that broadhead. It came out right behind the offside shoulder, like right where you'd want it to come out, pretty much, right? I mean, I just smoked this deer pretty good, and I didn't even know that until I got that sucker back to the truck. I couldn't even see any blood on that side of its body. Didn't know that. I didn't see a hole, nothing, right? If you watch that, you take that, and I watched a couple of deer go down in sight with the broadhead, so, I mean, it's effective, right?
A good shot's a good shot.
That's right.
Yeah.
But if you compare that with this year, Colorado buck, dude, I'm talking as soon as that broadhead hits, it's like a ping pong ball hole in that animal that immediately starts bleeding. And I mean, it's just way more destruction. There's way more gap for things to bleed into and through, as opposed to, like, if you cut a vein and it meshes back up with with itself on the ends, it may not bleed as bad,
Well,
so
this is a little different discussion, but it's good to have. The 2-blade versus 3-blade is kind of what you're getting at here.
Yeah.
So it would probably be good for people to think about, like, if anyone knows what the Geneva Conference is, the Geneva Conference, I believe, was after World War I. It was a thing for, like,
convention.
Geneva
right?
Convention. Maybe so. Look that
let me
up.
fact check that.
And I might be wrong on my timeline, but at some point in time, the nations of the world got together and they made a list of rules that were like differentiated between things that were okay in war and things that were war crimes. Okay, of those being, you can't use hollow points in war and yada yada. Never mind. No politics here today.
Geneva Conventions are 4 treaties, 3 additional protocols that establish international legal standards for humanitarian treatment in war.
Like not in 1919 or something like that, probably.
29 agreements of 1949.
Okay, so I guess it was after World War II. Okay, so Hague
there were
conventions.
there's conventions, so there were 2 conventions, I guess, in 29 before the Second World War.
Okay, so the one thing I'm getting at here is they set guidelines for bayonets at the Geneva Convention, and what they said is that, hey, bayonets have to have 2 blades; they cannot have 3 blades, because 3-blade bayonets are really, really hard to sew back together. And 2 blades you can fix. So it's kind of weird how they're like trying to make war less lethal, which I don't want to get into that too much. But we can take that and understand the difference in a 2-blade and a 3-blade broadhead. A 3-blade broadhead is going through an animal, making 3 cuts in a triangular pattern. Therefore, you have 3 floppy pieces of skin and flesh and stuff. And that stuff is not going to seal back together very well because they don't have like an anchor point, if you will, to seal to, if that makes sense, right? So there is an extreme amount of lethality in passing 3 blades through something in a triangular pattern, so much so that it was made illegal in war, okay? So take that into consideration with your broadhead thought, all right? So back to the blood trail stuff. I shot 3 deer this past season, 3 bucks. Shot 2 of them with a mechanical, 1 with a fixed blade. The 2 with the mechanical died almost in sight. 1 of them did die in sight. The one with a fixed blade ran possibly 800 yards, very far, and actually had to have another arrow to finish it off.
What kind of broadhead?
Oh, I
finish it
actually
off?
had to finish it off with a mechanical three-blade, didn't we? How about that? That is my anecdotal take on them this year. A good shot is a good shot. A marginal shot can become a good shot with a big old mechanical. A marginal shot can also become unsuccessful with a mechanical. It can also become unsuccessful with a fixed. If you think back to my 2020 South Dakota buck, some of y'all have seen that. I hammer a big South Dakota buck right in the shoulder bone and get about 1 inch of penetration. And I promise you, unless that deer got rifled down that season, he was breeding those in 2021. It's not all. And for you guys screaming Ashby right now, I was shooting about 15.5% FOC and about 565 grains that year. So
with a big, just straight up sharp 2-blade.
Sharp 2-blade with bleeders. Probably pretty hard to be critical about that unless you want to say you should go with a single bevel.
You know what the guys on YouTube scream? It's not Ashby.
Get a gun!
Range fairy.
That's right. Yeah. 2 words.
2 words. Range fairy. It's like,
yeah, sir.
Okay.
Eric, go ahead and give us your anecdotes of the 2 deer that you've shot. What happened?
Well, the doe I saw die in sight. So
It's good.
That
It's
one's
cool.
What
kind of.
kind of broadhead?
It was just like a farm and fleet, like cheap fixed broadhead.
3-blade?
It was 4.
4-blade?
Yeah. And then the buck I shot was at Wasp Sharpshooter. And that may have hit bone because.
Which is a 3-blade, right?
It's a 2-blade. It's a single bevel kind of
right.
with bleeders a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. So it's kind of a 4-blade. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a 2-blade with bleeders.
And
Yeah.
Those are big bleeders, though.
yeah,
Yeah.
they are.
That's kind of like that wasp that Brian says that he shoots at least.
Yeah.
What's it called?
The Magnus Stinger.
Magnus Stinger.
No.
There's one of those right there. That's the
No,
one that
the
he.
one that I shot yesterday in my
The
yard.
Black Hornet. Magnus Black Hornet.
Black Hornet. That's the one. Yeah, that's got some pretty big bleeders on it, too.
Yeah. We actually met Brian hunting some public land. Mm-hmm. And Brian, how did that come about? Did you shoot a deer on public land?
I did.
Wow.
The first 30 minutes of hunting.
Wow.
So
In Texas?
in Texas
Wow.
public.
There's public land in Texas?
There is.
Wow.
There is a lot of it with good deer.
Wow. Keep
yeah, I
spreading
did.
that message.
It was
stay at
also
home.
my first time hunting out of a saddle.
How about that,
All right.
dude?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Saddle
Success,
hunter.
man.
Saddle
Dude,
hunters.
let me tell you something. Hunting out of saddles has changed a lot of the way I hunt.
Yep.
Like a whole lot. And it's just like you can go off in the woods and just know you're going to be able to get in a tree.
Dude,
It's real nice.
Also,
what I did.
just having those Cruiser XCs it's so comfortable, man.
Yeah,
Like
dude.
it's just a nice. It just doesn't feel like you're like sacrificing comfort to hunt out of something that's more mobile. You know what I mean? It's like not any more or less comfort necessarily than a nice tree stand or whatever.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
So that's what I appreciate.
They
about
are real nice.
It's gonna be hard to ever go back.
What's funny is we filmed a video the other day out here where I got to wear mine for a while and show y'all how to shoot out of a saddle. And I was like, man, this is cool. I was kind of getting fired up. It's
Yeah.
like, let's do some more hanging in saddles.
Get to swinging.
And by the way, we were in Tennessee turkey hunting here a while back, and Chad showed us how to climb a tree and then rappel out of the tree using your saddle, which is a real neat thing to see. So we'll probably be having a video of that coming out pretty soon. That's Chad from Cruiser. But yeah, you killed a buck
Goodness, I could not find this.
from on public land in Texas, and we met you. And how did you shoot that deer?
So, well, I met you guys before I went and hunted, and I think I got Tyler's number,
Yeah.
which I'm glad I did. I got set up, and this deer came out about 400 yards, and just came in on a string, head on, straight to me.
You must smell good.
I had been walking that river bottom looking for a good spot to hunt for probably 2 hours. Got set up in this tree, and a guy came by on a fooler. Look, Texas Public it's good times out there.
Fun place.
Yeah.
We talked for a little while. He answered a couple phone calls.
Oh my goodness.
Kind of like you and that raccoon.
Continued pouring corn. But as soon as he left, this deer come out and came head on. And I had a little pond back behind me, and I knew this deer was probably going back to that pond, and my shot was going to be a frontal. This deer was kind of quartering to me, and I took a frontal shot in the front of his shoulder, and it came out behind his opposite shoulder and immediately had good blood.
Did you see him go down?
I did not see him go down. So he kind of ran off down in the bottom, and I lost sight of him about 15 yards after I shot him. I packed my saddle up. Being new to it, it took me probably 10 minutes or so to get all my stuff down out of the tree and get situated. And I could see my arrow. So my plan was to go grab the arrow, back out, go back up, and hang out in the truck for a little while before I go look for this deer. And when I walked down to pick up my arrow, this deer was about when he went in the woods, he must have immediately laid down. And he seen me pick up that arrow, and he jumped up and took off running. And that's actually when I texted you and said, "Hey, man, I may need help looking for this deer." Mm-hmm. Usually, if you jump a deer, they're going to run a good ways. And so I backed out and went back in there later. This deer, after jumping, ran maybe another 40 yards and died. And while cleaning that deer, that two-blade fixed broadhead went through the top atriums of that deer's heart. And 10, 15 minutes later, that deer was still alive enough to jump up and run another 50 yards.
It's wild.
Animals are tough, man.
And like you said, this blood trail looked like somebody had taken a tea pitcher and just poured this blood out. But I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that deer was still alive when I went to go pick up that arrow.
Yeah.
Man.
It's wild.
It is. It's weird, I was talking to Brian about this yesterday, but, it's weird how if you center punch a heart, it's almost always they expire quickly. Mm-hmm. But if you just hit the heart, through the side of it, it's weird how long they can live.
Yeah. I haven't thought about it much, but it's definitely a function of how the heart works because the heart is chambered. So if you center punch it and you just do away with all those chambers, the heart has no ability to pump. Whereas if you were to just cut one of the chambers of the heart, it still can pump blood in and out of that chamber because it's your body is a vacuum, right? Or not yours, but the deer's body. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, if you make it to where the valves and things can no longer function, then it's quick. And there's also a lot of bloodletting with that, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird, man.
We all kind of shoot for the heart shots, but I truly believe that double lung is more, a deer will die sooner with a double lung. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it is, man. But that was with what broadhead?
That was with the Magnus Stinger, I believe is what it's the serrated version. So I killed a deer with that broadhead, and then killed a deer with a doe with a swacker this year. Public, so
Schwachter.
Yeah.
That's what Levi shoots. Is that right?
The green one?
The green one.
Yeah.
So I keep both of my quiver. They both, I think, have a purpose and a situation.
K.C., why don't you talk about some purposes you might keep a certain broadhead
Here's
around
the
for?
deal, guys. This is the answer, okay? The fixed versus mechanical debate has been settled by me.
Yep.
I am announcing that I am a mechanical guy.
Oh, my
and
goodness.
It hurts, actually. Because I fully believe that if I would have shot that hog yesterday with a 3-blade wide mechanical, that I would have had one hole. I think it would not have passed all the way through, but that would have been a very, very large hole, and it would have gone through a lot of vital things, and there's a good chance that hog would have died inside. But instead, I put 7/8 of a single bevel through it, or maybe an inch, or I don't really know what it is, but it's narrow, right? Had 2 holes. Still didn't get a complete pass through. It was a shish kebab. which is a weird thing, right? You think about like the physics it takes for an arrow to slow down halfway through an animal. It's very strange.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
But makes some sense, though, because you just made a slit. Therefore, there's still friction on the shaft. Whereas if you shot that thing with a 3-blade and it made it all the way through, there's no friction anymore because it's lost all its tension. But that was the shot, pretty much, that a single bevel is supposed to be able to shine in. And albeit maybe a little hastiness on the hunter's side might have impaired our ability to recover that pig. Either way, if I'd have shot that hog with that 3-blade mechanical, I fully believe she would have died. So, in situations, I will still carry, at most, I would say at all times, I will carry a fixed blade in my quiver. But it will only be used in shots where I feel like a mechanical will not function because there might be too much grass or obstruction to keep that mechanical from doing what it's supposed to do. That is not saying I intend on shooting through stuff to kill a deer. That is not what I'm saying. I think that's a bad thing to do. I think there are some people on YouTube that have shown that to be something to do. Not that those are bad people, but I would not encourage doing that. However, in grassland habitat and thick East Texas river bottoms, sometimes you don't see every briar or every branch or every piece of grass, right? And so with that being said, that's a good time to be able to shoot a fix and shoot them well. Another reason to shoot fixed blades is because they are hard to shoot, whereas mechanicals are self-tuning, right? They shoot like field points, as everybody says, and they really do. Whereas like you strap a big old non-vented fixed blade on, and they're kind of hard to make hit out at 40 yards.
I can't do it.
Doing some stuff, right? So if you practice with those fixed, then you will definitely be a really good shot with a mechanical. Well, I shouldn't say definitely. Maybe you're a bad shot either way. But my tolerance for when I'm going to have a fixed blade on the end knocked on my bow is becoming less and less.
Yeah. As
my experiences go on, which is wild to say. But I also think that has a lot to do with finding a mechanical that I really, really, really like. I've done that. Those big 3 blades that we shot all last year that are made by Grim Reaper, they're real good.
Yeah.
And really, really well made. You have anything else to add to that? Any other thoughts on that?
That's it. You solved the problem. You solved the
there's no debate. You don't have anything else to say because I said it.
There's nothing to debate.
I'm just going to give you all the Aaron Snyder method here. Instead of us discussing, I'm just going to tell you how it is. All right?
Anyway, there's a broadhead called a black cornet that Brian keeps talking about. I shot that yesterday.
I think
in the
it whistles
yard.
Going through the air. Right?
It does.
What cornets do?
Yeah, it's a whistler. It actually is fairly loud. I noticed that yesterday.
That's the trait of vented broadheads.
Yeah.
And some are worse than others.
I shot it, and I have never shot a fixed blade very good. And this is a 2-blade with bleeders, right? And the bleeders aren't massive. They're not tiny. They're kind of sitting in the mid-range. They're not most massive. And I actually shot that broadhead like really well out to 80. And that I can't even shoot a broadhead at 40 that's fixed hardly ever. So I was pretty excited about that. So I may carry one of those in my quiver this year. I don't know, but it's just hard when I pretty much shot the biggest deer I've ever shot, with a gigantic 3-blade and it passed through.
Biggest bodied deer probably too.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, man. One of the biggest bodied deer I've ever shot, man. And I mean, I feel like about the only reason for me to carry a fixed blade is in elk woods, So, I mean,
What?
That's where I'm at.
Real quick, so people have the geeks have a little bit of a bearing on this. What was your arrow weight and arrow speed with that?
523 last year, I think, with that setup, and I can't remember my speed.
Probably 260.
I was thinking 259, something like that is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So that's where I was at, and it was doing exactly what I wanted to. This year, I'm going to try to shoot the same arrow weight, but a little bit faster. But I may end up, it depends on what these new vectors calculators come out to, but may end up shooting a slightly lighter arrow. I'm not sure. Now, part of me is like, man, it'd be cool to get to the arrow weight that you want with a 150 grain broadhead. But the one thing that I don't like about 150s is you can't just find them everywhere. So that's kind of an issue. It's like, man, if you could just go to Bass Pro and get a 150 for sure, anywhere in the country or Academy or whatever, like, then I probably would do that. But I don't know. I really like that combination. I really like being at 520 right in there. But I don't know for sure if I'll be able to make that happen this year. So things might change. I just got to see as we go this summer what the new Vector hammers look like and everything.
So real quick, first archery deer, what broadhead?
That would be a NAP Spitfire 3-blade, 100 grain.
Brian?
A Muzzy 3 or 4 blade. I don't remember. Fixed.
Right? Yeah.
Fixed. Eric, you said yours was a Farm Fleet.
Yeah, we'll call it the Fleetwood Mac.
There you go. That's pretty good. Mine was also a inexpensive 3-blade vented. I think it was probably, I think they called them Thunderheads maybe or something like that.
Muzzy had a Thunderhead, right?
Might have been. I don't feel like it might have been the Allen knockoff version of it. It was real cheap. But I shot my first deer with that. Guessed range 35 yards and smoked him, dude. I mean, we're living in the times now, guys, with the rangefinders.
I'm hoping my wife gets that video ready to go soon.
That'd be cool.
First archery book.
That new archery products. I think it was the NAP. Yeah.
Really?
Possibly. They looked different back then,
Man,
though.
broadheads have come a long way.
They have, dude.
Yeah.
What's weird is it wasn't called NAP back then. It's called New Archery Product, which is what it is. But, yeah, I remember it had a blue ferrule and 3 replaceable blades and a little pointy tip on it.
How about that?
Guessed the range at 35 yards. Had never practiced with the broadheads, just practiced with field points.
That thing right there looks
Smoke 'em.
mean.
Yeah, dude. That little claw in there is what gets them.
Yeah, it is. It claws them to death.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 3 blades. That's what we all shot probably our first year with. How about that? And then they died.
They died. Did they all die?
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah. First deer you ever shot with a bow died?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I'm talking about.
How far did yours go, Brian?
Probably 100 yards, I would say.
What year?
2005-ish.
Yep. Same for me. About the same exact experience, too. I think it's 110 yards. Bled the whole way, but it ran a long ways. Eric?
What year?
Yep.
I think 2017 or 18. I can't remember, but I think 17.
How far?
How far did she go? Like I said, it was the eyesight. She probably ran. She was at 30, and she ran like 15 yards from there, I bet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tyler?
Actually, the first deer I shot with a bow didn't die.
Oh, yeah?
I shot one up by Lake Fork on a permission piece I had in high school with a bow at like 3 yards. You know, it was back when there wasn't a whole lot of big deer around, and I saw this small buck coming across this deal at like 75 yards coming towards me, and when I put my binos on him, he had a spike on one side, and I was like freaking out.
Oh, yeah,
because we can't shoot. It has to either be 13 inches wide or be have at least one unbranched antler. So when I saw this 3-point coming at me, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is about to happen. First deer I've seen just set the stand-ups, first, hanging hunt situation. And he comes to the base of my tree before I get a shot. And so he's like 3 yards straight down. I didn't really bend at the waist. My anchor points are weird. I hit high, of course. And we found one little tiny speck of blood. But
It's a tough shot for your first archery buck, man.
yeah, I guarantee you. Especially,
You
I was
made
pretty
that same
high.
shot this year in Nebraska and Smoke City'd the deer.
Yeah. Well,
Did you shoot that deer with the 3-blade mechanical?
Yep.
That's a shot that I think would scare me with a big 3-blade,
Straight down?
straight down.
Because your
I could see that.
shoelaces?
Just trying to pass a 3-blade 2-inch mechanical through their spine.
Yeah. Well, I did that in Nebraska this year. And but it's a different broadhead.
Yeah.
A more probably well-made broadhead.
Less aluminum on
And
it for sure.
I was probably shooting closer to I was in the low 400s total arrow weight probably. Yeah. And the Nebraska buck this year was like 600. So it's a lot different.
Yeah.
A lot more weight pushing that broadhead.
Yeah, that arrow buried in the ground.
That's right.
That one that you
Underneath
shot
the
this
deer.
year, yeah.
Yep. But the first deer I killed with a bow was about 2000. It was 2006, and I smoked it broadside at like 21 yards. as good as I've shot a deer probably passed through, and that deer ran like at least 200 yards.
Isn't it weird?
My dad was watching it through the binos. He was with me, and he was like, I'm pretty sure I saw him go down, but I'm not 100%. I mean, he was way down there, and he was down there, but like it was at least 200 yards.
Here's the thing that we probably need to wrap up pretty soon, but a thing I think happens is we were all probably shooting fast speeds then. And I think that when you shoot a deer with a fast arrow, it slaps them and they freak out. Whereas whenever you shoot a deer with a medium speed arrow, it's kind of more of a slip in there.
Well, also the broadhead choice. You know, if you shoot a deer with a 2-blade broadhead with tiny bleeders, sometimes they don't have a clue what hit them.
Oh, especially if it's real sharp.
Yeah. And so, but if you shoot them with like in that situation, it was a 3-blade front deploy mechanical. That deer definitely felt something.
Yeah.
You know,
and you don't feel that pushing through.
He freaked out and went really far. But yeah, smoked him, died. You know, it just he gained a lot of ground before he did.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, cool stories, guys.
But
that was a fun thing to talk about. Tyler.
Yep.
Yesterday, you and Brian. No, I'm sorry. Eric and Brian were both making them great again, and I think that might be what we did today.
Yeah.
So we have a shirt on our website. It's called "Make Mechanicals Great Again."
That's right.
And there's some truth to it, man.
Yeah. The premise is that. There's a little bit of snobbery that happens with fixed blades, with single bevels and all this stuff and heavy arrows, and we want to just make guys feel comfortable in their own skin, just like Dove says, right?
That's right.
We want them to be shooting a mechanical broadhead if they want to, and to be okay with it, to know they have a supporting community around them, and not everybody shoots a single bevel, right?
That's right, man. That's right. In fact, one less person shoots a single bevel, to tell you the truth. So what you need to do is go to the Element website, go check out some of the merchandise stuff, find some stuff while you're there. We're going to ship out some orders today, actually, and you can get your own Making Mechanicals Great Again shirt. Remember to do that, and remember, this is your element.
Liberty.
Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay? Every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Art Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.